plus the big star would be the Real American Voices.
Jesus!
All right, yes. Lost his line there.
That's okay.
A very big thank you to Ed Henry and Karyn Turk and Terrance Bates on America's Sunrise. Watch America's Sunrise.
Patriots, welcome to this American Sunrise live in West Palm Beach, Florida. Good morning.
Good morning. Happy
nice
Tuesday.
Absolutely.
And live in our Denver, Colorado studio. So good to see each and every one of you. And in Karyn, a wonderfully good Tuesday morning to each and every one of you, and you too.
Absolutely. Did you just have breakfast, or is there something on your top lip?
Is it? Was that a joke?
Wait, what's happening?
No, I just said it was shiny. But I like the green as well. You got green again today.
Yes, I'm really doubling down on this. My goal is to wear something green every day this week, especially since you made fun of me yesterday. I'm all in now. I am all in.
I got to say, very sad, strange story, though, out of Martha's Vineyard, if you see this.
Yeah.
Personal chef for Barack and Michelle Obama. He had worked in the White House, and then they hired him personally. He's only 43 years old, Tafari Campbell, outside their estate in Martha's Vineyard, $12 million or whatever it is. He was paddleboarding and drowned. And, you know, it's strange. Social media's got all these videos of him swimming, like almost competitively.
There's only like 8 feet of water, too, which is really
weird.
Really odd.
And he leaves behind a wife and 2 children. It's just a really sad story. I know you're going to have more details later.
Yeah, we'll talk a bit more about it later on. He has 2 twins that he leaves behind along with that wife. And a lot of people also kind of drawing comparisons to a 2015 case in which the former White House chef in the Biden administration, excuse me, not the Biden administration, the Clinton administration and the Bush administration, 2015 case, you very well may have still been covering the White House at that time. You may remember the chef there passed away, also drowned in a similar kind of accident. That one happened in New Mexico, so some bizarre happenings there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it makes you think, you know, they're privileged to a lot of information that goes on.
They certainly are. There's a lot of information spilling out at the Bidens, who you just mentioned. This was yesterday. I got to tell the New York Post, whoever's a delivery man or woman, they threw it in the wrong bush yesterday. This is yesterday's front page, phone a friend. But it's still relevant today because Devin Archer, former business partner Hunter Biden, is going to start spilling. We've been expecting this. So we got John Solomon next hour. We got Tony Shaffer later this hour. We're going to dig deep on this because Joe Biden lied to all of us in 2020 and said over and over, guys, I'm not part of the business deals. What this says, phone a friend, is that Hunter got Joe on the speakerphone multiple times, couple dozen times to impress her. Hey, let me get the vice president on. Hey, here he is. And he told us he wasn't involved in the business.
And what's the excuse going to be at some point? Are they just going to say, well, he doesn't remember, so now there's nothing we can do?
That might be their cover story. But, Terrance, this is a big deal. And really, seriously, I mean, you keep indicting Trump. They're going to keep doing that. Charges. And this man, the current president, was involved in his son's business, which was dirty. Bribes, all kinds of stuff. And nobody seems to really care much.
And what's crazy is that even when he's asked directly about it, I call it the bait and switch. The media got the bait, and he switched the conversation to, oh, well, the focus should be on Donald Trump. The focus should be, you shouldn't be asking me about this stuff. Everyone we've talked to has said this isn't a story. The focus should be on Donald Trump. And that just seems to be so irresponsible.
It's always Trump.
Address the actual issue. You are the president of the United States. These are allegations being made directly against you. Don't try to bait and switch. Address the actual issue. And every time you try to blame someone else or try to redirect the conversation, I think the most reasonable, average, everyday Americans, it's a de facto indictment of you. That would be President
likes to blame other people.
Yeah, it's usually the ones with the dirty hands pointing the fingers, isn't it? Yeah, always.
It's funny.
Always.
New York Post phone a friend yesterday. They never miss. This is a different story. I guess Tom Brady's hanging out with the new supermodel. Her name is Irina Shayk. I never heard of her, but they've got some photos of them together. Today's headline is Shake Shack.
They've got great headline writers at the Post, that's for sure. They've got great headline writers.
Shacking up in Los Angeles. Anyway, Fox News, we had this story yesterday, and you said, come on, this is not real. And Blaze gets the credit, Glenn Beck, that they were matching donations that their employees gave to the Satanic Temple. Guess what? They finally not only admitted they were doing it, they're admitting it because they're saying, we're not doing it anymore. We're stopping this. No longer matching these donations, Karyn, to the Satanic Temple. Why were they doing it in the first place?
Where was the oversight? Again and again, these big companies are like, oh, we didn't know what was going on in our marketing department. Oh, we didn't know what was going on in HR. Oh, sorry, our bad. Whether it be Bud Light or anybody else. We didn't know what was happening.
Terrance, the Zen Master's not going to match contributions we make to the Satanic Temple, right?
I guarantee no.
Good.
I've got some requests for other things I'd like him to match, 401k, college fund.
Oh.
I got plenty of suggestions. I don't see that happening ever.
Exactly.
I don't think there's anybody on our staff that would even want to do that. This patriotic, amazing staff that we have.
Exactly.
And then there's that.
Yeah.
Right, and why did someone speak out sooner? At least there was a whistleblower finally who went to Glenn Beck. This one, I want you to, we listened to the Real American Voices. Owen's a loyal viewer out there, sent this in about PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, getting owned online. Let's put it up. So they said, next time you think of eating a chicken, remember that they had a family just like you. And this gentleman said, you're already left. This is Terrance, you relate? This is why I order a family bucket at KFC. No one is left behind.
That's funny. I'm just thinking kind of the whole idea there. I'm probably responsible for chicken genocide myself, as much chicken as I've eaten in my lifetime, if we want to go down that road. Aye.
It sounds like a rabbit hole, which is coming up in a couple of
Yeah,
days.
and I would probably be laughing harder, except every time I laugh, I have this horrible cough that I'm still getting over. So I start coughing, so I'm trying to restrain my enthusiasm.
There you go. By the way, we talked about the woke Barbie movie. Did you see this yet? Apparently, there's going to be a pregnant Ken. Watch.
New from Mattel, Barbie's boyfriend is getting a much-needed and way more inclusive makeover. Introducing
Pregnant Ken. He's a man with a baby. He's definitely male and not a lady.
His belly lets you know he's pregnant, and his beard lets you know he's a man. Because men can get pregnant just like women. In fact, there's no definition of women. We literally have no idea what a woman is. Pregnant Ken does all the normal things every birthing person does, like chest feed, then hide his breasts with chest binders. He rocks baby to sleep with his supple masculine arms. And Ken, being a man and therefore a good driver, can even put baby in the back of the car for a fun drive around.
Supple masculine arms. Now, it's the Babylon Bee, so it's satire, but you say this all the time, truth is stranger than fiction. This is coming.
And this is, I can actually imagine that if I saw this and didn't know about the Babylon Bee, I might have to take a second look.
If we took that label off, you'd be like, wait, who's selling
what is this? Right.
Because it could happen, Terrance. It could happen.
You know what? Initially, I was like, is this real? And then I kind of realized, I was like, okay, yeah, so this is satire. But that's what makes it so funny and so disturbing, is that it could be real. I mean, within months, this could be a thing.
The stupid things that are said are actually said by real people currently.
Absolutely.
Like, he can chest feed. And Megyn Kelly called it out. We played the clip a couple weeks ago. No, the men cannot breastfeed.
You know what my favorite part was? The beard lets you know he's a man.
And there is no definition of a woman. When I heard that, I was like because we've heard that. We've heard that sort of rhetoric, that there is no definition of woman. And so I was like, is this real? And then later on, his soft, supple arm, I was like, okay, it's satire. But
There
again, some of the rhetoric.
It sounded like Big Sexy.
I'm not easily offended, but I'm easily offended by that. Like, how demeaning is that to women?
Which
These
part?
people, just the whole thing, just the whole thing that women, women don't have any individuality anymore. We're men.
Right.
Now.
I mean, that is an important point. That's why I was asking you to
Taking
explain.
away all the things of being a woman.
Right. Not enough women say that. Like, why are men co-opting what? Just like they're co-opting the swimming competition and the other thing. Let women be women. Let women have their own events. Let women give birth to babies. Let's celebrate.
Do we not have any value? Are we just, going to be discarded like that?
Speaking of, and I'm going to send you this picture. I was thinking of you, Karyn. I was at the grocery store, of course, as always, and there are now Cracker Janes. It's not Cracker Jacks. It was Cracker Janes, and the whole idea, it was in support of women's sports, supporting women's sports. And I took a picture of it, and then, of course, I kept shopping. I'm going to send you a picture because I thought of you. I was like, wow, this is interesting. Cracker Janes. It wasn't Cracker Jacks, and it said on the box, like, supporting women's sports or in support of women's sports. I thought it was interesting. I'll send it to you.
If it's like a special edition, I'm all for it. But if they're going to do away with Cracker Jack and replace it, then I'm like, wait, let's not cancel history because that's a pretty iconic brand.
All right, there you go.
I think it's a special
Anything
edition.
else?
I'm going to send it to you, though.
I love it.
What'd you say? Do
All
I
right,
have
so
can't
anything
wait.
else? These things just kind of come to mind. I did take a picture. In fact, I'll send it now.
I love the random thoughts. Here's
you.
a random thought, by the way. The Liberty Awards. I didn't know about this. It's called American Liberty Awards. You can go online, go search them with your favorite search engine. Here's the deal. Real America's Voice is up for Best TV Network. I guess in August they're doing this. In about 18 days, as you see the countdown. Carrie Lake texted it to me late last night because she noticed in the song category, 81 Million Votes My Ass is one of the nominees. We had nothing to do with this.
This is amazing.
And so it's absolutely great. So you can vote. They're called Libby Awards for American Liberty. It'll be in Austin, Texas on August 12th. Voting from July 4th to July 30th. One vote per person. So go check it out and support. Real America's Voice is up for Best TV Network. Our own Ben Berquam is up for Best Investigative Reporter. Let's support him. And let's support 81 Million Votes My Ass. How about that? I want to tee this up, though. Miss Italy, meanwhile, this goes well with Pregnant Ken. Miss Italy, the competition, Karen, has banned transgenders. Quote, you must be a woman from birth. Lately, beauty contests have been trying to make the news by using strategies that I think are a bit absurd, said the leader who runs this. And Mrs. Florida says,
I say this is fantastic. Hopefully a sign of things to come, right?
yeah, I mean, at least Italy is standing strong on this kind of stuff, Terrance.
Italians are strong people.
They are. And you've seen their prime minister who's spoken out and given some pretty fiery speeches saying we're not giving in to the woke culture. Terrance?
You know, and this seems like such a reasonable and common sense move. You're a woman at birth, you get to participate. You're not, you don't. Simple.
There you go. You know what's also simple is Uncle Ted, right? We have him at the top of the show, Ted News. I hope you're watching Spirit Campfire. I don't know if you saw this one over the weekend, too. There's just so many things that pile in. And Benny Johnson was saying, this is the greatest 27 seconds in TV broadcast history. That's tough to beat, right?
Wow, that's a really big compliment.
Uncle Ted, not on his own show. He was on someone else's show and was asked about the jab. Watch.
Would you speak to the people who believe it is a worthwhile vaccine and it is saving lives? Are they just dead wrong? Are they been fed a line from the federal government?
Tim, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to the people that went ahead and got the jab. I speak their language. I would speak to them thusly. Bah, 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 bah. They understand that.
Well, so all these millions of people that got the shots, they're just stupid?
Yep.
Drop the mic. Drop the mic. That was amazing.
Right. I know you were skeptical.
I was skeptical. That might have been the best 27 seconds of television that I've seen in a long time.
Wait a second. Did you see Pineapple Man at Benny's?
That was great, too.
All
I mean,
right.
there's been, but I'm saying one of them. I'm not saying the only one. One of the best 27 seconds. And I think that was more like 32 seconds.
That was longer.
It was a little longer.
Terrance, what do you think? Drop the mic. They're all sheep.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm a sheep. I was trying to discern. I am one of those people that took the jab, given the information I had at that time. I was still I get the point, but I was trying to translate the Baha to Baha. I think I was lost.
You don't
with the
speak
second
sheep.
Baha. I don't think I do speak sheep, but I get the point.
But this,
yeah, and you know, there was so much bullying that went on with it. I had thought about, like, there were reasons that I didn't do it, but I had thought about reasons that I would have done it and how I could have been in a very different position.
No doubt about it. Look at this. This plays perfectly. I don't know if you saw this video. ESPN's Sheikha Hislop. I guess he had been a big football, soccer star.
No
and here he was. You know him well then. He was on the sidelines commentating for ESPN. And take a quick look at what happened.
Summer, he's been left behind. He's on the naughty step from BNC. He's not gone on the tour of Japan. What have you been saying? Shaq! Wait, we need some help. We need medical. Medical. Okay.
Wow. What in the world? And this happens.
I mean, we've
got
seen
another
so many
clip
of
next
these.
time.
It's tragic. It really is. We never saw this before. These facts speak for themselves.
It certainly does.
Wow. Shaka Hislop, he's an international soccer player, played for Trinidad and Tobago, was a goalie, very, very well-known goalie over in England. And he's young. I mean, Shaka's probably 55.
Crazy.
So
he looks like he's in great health.
Yeah. I mean,
skinny. He's in shape. He played soccer.
Yeah.
And this is what's happening to young and middle-aged men.
Yeah,
let's just call it out.
Wow. I'm sorry. That's the first time I'd seen that video. And so
it's been
I'm
circulating
kind of taken aback.
That's why I'm surprised. Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
It's absolutely crazy. So we'll have to get an update on how he's doing. We certainly wish him well. Meanwhile, let's just say it. Karyn was right. She said Biden, at the beginning, is going to be worse than Carter. CNN is saying it now. Watch.
In something titled, "Why is Joe Biden so unpopular?" Andrew Romano writes that at this point in his term, Joe Biden is the second most unpopular president in modern U.S. history. Jimmy Carter was the first. Romano cites polling data from 538, where Biden's approval rating 910 days into his term stood at just 39%.
Karyn was right.
I'd love to say this was like a really hefty psychic prediction, but it was pretty obvious from the beginning.
Terrance?
Karyn was right. I don't think anything else needs to be said. Karyn,
don't need to add.
Okay, I like it.
Leads us perfectly to go down the rabbit hole with Karyn. All right, Karyn, so since you know all, and we just showed that, is Hunter Biden headed to Florida is my question, because I'm learning now sharks are lurking off of Florida's coast here, and they may be eating bundles of cocaine dumped in the ocean by U.S.-bound drug smugglers. This is from the New York Post, and scientists want to find out what's going on, so we put you on the case and you went down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I definitely did. And you know, what's even scarier is that not only, we already know about Hunter Biden, but this has been going on for decades.
Really?
There have been these cocaine-eating sharks off the coast of Florida for decades, and nobody knew. But now, because the Discovery Channel is coming out with a new Shark Week episode called Cocaine Sharks, and of course there was the success of Cocaine Bear, we now found out that for the last 4 decades there have been cocaine-eating sharks off the coast of Florida.
Wait, but is this a promotional thing then? Is this why we're seeing these stories?
I think so, yeah.
They're trying to get some ratings.
That was the rabbit hole, yeah. Yeah, but it does happen. But they don't really know how much it affects the sharks.
Terrance, I'd add this, which is a friend right before the show, who shall remain nameless, a viewer, sent me a New York Post story from this morning. Apparently, Biden's new dog, Commander, which replaced Major, sent a Secret Service officer to the hospital and bit 6 other people. And my friend joked that maybe the dog found the cocaine that nobody else could seem to find at the White House. Because
cocaine dog.
A cocaine dog at the White House.
Well, I guess if you ingest, you get a little bit more spirited and aggressive, if you will. So it could be, yeah. I can see it.
There you go. Why don't we get to Jesus Calling? I feel like we need to make a turn.
Seems like maybe a good time to do that. Jesus Calling. As you listen to birds calling to one another, hear also my love call to you. I speak to you continually through sights, sounds, thoughts, impressions, and scriptures. There is no limit to the variety of ways I can communicate with you. Your part is to be attentive to my messages in whatever form they come. When you set out to find me in a day, you discover that the world is vibrantly alive with my presence. You can find me not only in the beauty of bird calls, but also in the tragedy and faces filled with grief. I can take the deepest sorrow and weave it into a pattern for good. And this comes from Jeremiah 23:13. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart.
Jeremiah 29:13, I would say. Maybe the number was wrong, because that is one of the best that you can find in the Bible. Jeremiah 29:13, about the plans I have for you. Terrance, I know you got a couple headlines.
All right, let's get to it. The Biden administration is accusing House Speaker Kevin McCarthy of flip-flopping on the spending cuts he agreed to as part of the debt ceiling deal that he reached with President Biden. Now, the White House is drawing a line in the sand, saying the president will veto all of the Republican-backed spending bills in Congress should they make it to his desk. House Republicans are pushing for significant cuts in funding for defense, health, and agriculture. But beyond the dollars and cents, Republicans have added amendments to those spending plans that would limit military spending for soldiers and dependents to receive abortions. The agriculture and health bills reportedly include provisions to cut climate change initiatives, as well as programs focused on the LGBTQ community. That's a quick headline there for you. We'll, of course, have more headlines coming your way here in just a little bit. But now let's get you back to Ed and Karyn.
All right, Terrance, appreciate you as always. Going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to dive in on this phone a friend. Did Joe Biden lie to the American people? The short answer is yes. We're going to dig deep on what Devin Archer may say with someone who knows. His name is Tony Shaffer. He's our national security advisor. He's next. Carrie Lake and the Truth Bombers on the way up.
Put down Hunter's crack pipe. Right now. Right now.
I can't afford the groceries. I can't afford your gas.
News break is brought to you by AMAC, Association of Mature American Citizens.
Yeah, that is Sunrise from the great Ted Nugent. He came on the show some time ago and said, use it whenever you want. And it is absolutely beautiful. What a great American sunrise. And he said, every sunrise is sacred, and he's absolutely right. And it's interesting because it tees up what I want to talk about quickly. Jason Aldean, still rocking it, still at top of the charts because they tried to cancel him. And folks are now posting this. Look at Nick Adams. Jason Aldean should perform the Super Bowl halftime show, Karen, with special guests.
Ooh.
You like Kid Rock.
This would be great.
And Uncle Ted. Now, the chances of this happening in this woke culture are probably close to zero.
But maybe not the Super Bowl halftime show, but what about something else? Maybe some sort of patriotic festival that competes with the Super Bowl.
Maybe Uncle Ted can put that together. And we've got Kid Rock's phone number. We met him in Nashville. Kid, we'll give you a call. In the meantime, the headlines are sponsored by AMAC.
The Association of Mature American Citizens is the conservative voice for Americans 50 and older. AMAC is fighting for the values that you hold dear. Join today. Together, we can write the course of America.
Absolutely. I got a friend who actually knows Kid Rock real well, and he always talks about him and says Bobby, because if you know him, his name is actually Bobby. But pretty much nobody in the outside world calls him Bobby because none of us actually know him well. So he says, "Well, Bobby told me," and then I'm like, "Bobby? Oh, Kid Rock," because no one actually calls him Kid, like I just did.
Only one person really calls you Eddie. You know, I mean, most people call you Ed or Edward.
MAGA Mike.
Only one person.
But then you just
Eddie.
called me Eddie Ed. What was that?
Yeah,
Eddie
I called
Ed.
you Eddie Ed this morning. Eddie Ed, taking it on. We're friends, we're buddies, so I get to come up with nicknames as well. All right, guys, let's get to this morning's headlines. A lot to talk about, guys. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy appears one step closer to pushing for impeachment proceedings against President Biden. He points to information gleaned from both IRS and FBI whistleblowers who have testified before the House Oversight, House Ways and Means, and House Judiciary Committees. Those whistleblowers have brought forth evidence alleging a years-long political influence scheme involving first son Hunter Biden. The FBI documents that have been released also seem to implicate then Vice President Biden in those payouts.
We would know none of this if Republicans had not taken the majority. We've only followed where the information has taken us. But Hannity, this is rising to the level of impeachment inquiry, which provides Congress the strongest power to get the rest of the knowledge and information needed. Because this president has also used something we have not seen since Richard Nixon, used the weaponization of government to benefit his family and deny Congress the ability to have the oversight.
The calls for a Biden impeachment are growing louder by the day, particularly with explosive testimony expected this week from former Hunter Biden business partner and best friend Devon Archer. Archer has reportedly been subpoenaed by the House Oversight Committee and could testify as soon as this Thursday. Miranda Devine from the New York Post is reporting that Archer will say he witnessed meetings attended by both Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, either in person or via telephone. That expected testimony was the bait the mainstream media needed to ask the question, which of course President Biden immediately switched to President Trump. Archer allegedly claims during those meetings Hunter Biden specifically introduced his father to foreign business partners or prospective investors. That narrative is just the opposite of President Biden's claims that he was never involved in any of Hunter Biden's business dealings. In a statement in advance of Archer's upcoming testimony, the House Oversight Committee writes, quote, "We are looking forward very much to hearing from Devon Archer about all the times he has witnessed Joe Biden meeting with Hunter Biden's overseas business partners when he was vice president, including on speakerphone." And then there's this. Former Congressman and current True Social CEO Devin Nunes is predicting that Democrats will remove President Biden as their presidential nominee. He believes that indicting Hunter Biden will be the first domino to start a chain reaction that ends with President Biden being forced out.
Every day that goes by, the percentage increases, he's not going to be the nominee. It seems to me like what the machinery around here is doing is they're trying to get the son indicted on something, get him done. They don't want to have a primary process. They don't want to have any debates because it'll look even worse for him, for Biden. And then he'll become kind of the de facto, he'll be the nominee. And then before the convention, they'll say, oh, I mean, that's what I'm hearing here, just back in the swamp, and I do still have a few friends that
sure do
have some connections to the Democrats.
That bold prediction coming on Just the News, No Noise with John Solomon and Amanda Head, which of course airs right here on Real America's Voice. A lot to talk about when it comes to Devon Archer. These headlines brought to you by AMAC, guys.
Always, we'll see you in a couple minutes. In the meantime, let's bring in our friend Tony Shaffer. We see him this time every Tuesday, as long as we get the internet working well there in the beautiful state of North Carolina. Good morning, Tony. How are you?
Good morning. Good to see you, Ed. Good to be there. Hey, Karyn.
Hey, how are you?
We're going to put this up from the Gateway Pundit. Devon Archer ready to start spilling. We've heard about this before. Gateway Pundit says huge. Devon Archer to testify. It looks like maybe this will happen next Monday. As Terrance said, it could happen as early as Thursday. Other reports saying next Monday. But the bottom line is he is saying, among other things, that Hunter put his dad, the vice president at the time, on the phone a couple dozen times to impress business clients. This man, Joe Biden, told us again and again he had nothing to do with this business, Tony. How big is this?
Well, it's huge, and I think we all recognize now Joe Biden cannot tell the truth. Going back to his days in the Senate, running for president back in the 80s, to now. So the significant thing is the most obvious. What exactly were they selling? What was worth millions of dollars? And the answer is Joe Biden. Joe Biden was the product. And much like any illicit product, you have to set up a network of banks of people involved to kind of sell Joe. So Archer's going to be out there talking about how they marketed Joe Biden. And this is the most obvious thing that people continue, especially the left, continue to miss. Like, why on earth would you pay Hunter Biden and these knuckleheads millions of dollars? Well, you're selling Joe because you're expecting something by Joe, through Joe, or with Joe. And that's what we're going to, I think, see in a lot more definition coming next week, a week from yesterday.
This is so dark and twisted and dirty. It just seems like it's so mafia-esque.
Right, but also
it really is.
I'm listening to you,
Totally.
and Karyn was laughing, and I was wondering if you were thinking what I was thinking, which is when you were laying out that the product is Joe Biden.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't this like the worst product ever? The guy can't even speak. But I get it. You're saying that they were selling access to that product
and
because he's
it was a few
got
years
power.
ago. It was before he wasn't stumbling as much as now. He's progressed in his stumbling.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, no, Joe Biden still now has influence. I mean, it's all kind of all muddled by his current physical condition. We could talk a whole 10 minutes about how his diminished faculties allow for this manipulation. Heck, his wife, as far as I'm concerned, Joe Biden, should be in jail for elder abuse. With that said, he is still has an immense option, and I've testified before Joe Biden back when he was a senator. He was known then. My friend Congressman Kurt Weldon told me his nickname in the Senate was Quid Pro Quo Joe. So I mean, this has been an open secret for decades that he sold access to national security secrets in his office for purposes of personal gain. Yeah, and that's the sad truth.
Karyn has talked about Jill Biden and saying it was elder trafficking with the first lady.
You know, and I'm against guardianships and against, stripping people's civil rights in most cases. But, the Democrats use that all the time against the elderly. Now why not turn the tables and have some lawyer go ahead and initiate, a guardianship and get him out of the hands of the predators that are preying on him.
Yeah. He volunteered for what he's got, but I'm just saying, absolutely.
Yeah, he did when he had the capacity to. Does he still have it now? Will we ever know?
Right, because you said the physical, it's also the mental faculties that are gone. Let me play this clip, guys, because we keep talking about, he promised again and again in 2020 it had nothing to do with the business dealings. Well, let's show people because he was so emphatic. And he didn't just lie, he lied dramatically, passionately lied. Watch.
And how many times have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings?
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings. I have never discussed with my son or my brother or anyone else anything having to do with their businesses, period. And what I will do is the same thing we did in our administration. There will be an absolute wall between personal and private and the government.
Do you stand by your statement that you did not discuss any of your son's overseas business dealings?
Yes, I stand by that statement.
If you're on the phone 24 times, if you're taking $5 million at one clip, and we don't even know how many others, you're involved in his overseas business dealings, right?
Yeah, but he never thought he was going to find out. Come on.
Well, I think that's the thing. I don't think a lot of, back when he was before he ran for office, I think this was his retirement plan. Obama let this happen. I think Obama's fully aware of this, by the way, just saying. And this happened because they thought Joe was going to retire. They did not know that Joe would not be retiring. I think they really presumed Hillary Clinton would win and Joe would leave. Well, it didn't happen. So now you've got the guy they think can win, Biden, because he's kind of milquetoast. The guy from Scranton, old Joe, don't call me that fat guy, that yells at people. And I think that's why they put him in the middle of this. And I think, they thought they could get away with it because they own Merrick Garland. Merrick Garland needs to be impeached. I think that's a reasonable thing. And it's very clear the media co-conspired to suppress all this information. They were fully co-conspirators in this. And then the Democrat Party and the FBI, which is redundant because they're pretty much the same thing at this point, jumped in and did everything it could to suppress the Hunter Biden hard drive. And we've talked about this. I had access to that. Even our own side didn't want to look at that thing back in 2016, which was really sad. But the evidence has been there in plain sight for a number of years. It's just taken an extraordinary effort by the Republicans in the House to finally get this out to the public.
Well, hang on that point. We got about a minute. So Terrance played this clip a minute ago from Kevin McCarthy. I think it was on Hannity, and it's being played in the headlines that he suggests Republicans are going to impeach Biden or move towards it. But then when I heard the actual clip, there's a lot of, we'll move towards the process that will get us to the possible impeachment. We played a clip from Jim Jordan yesterday with Maria Bartiromo, and he completely whiffed. Let's put Biden aside just for 1 second and start with Garland, who you just mentioned. Why don't they have the cojones to say he's the attorney general, he's a chief law enforcement officer, and he lied under oath to Congress, Garland, and said DOJ is not going to mess with this Hunter Biden thing.
Incredible.
And now we know they have. Pick one, either Garland or Biden. Let's impeach at least one of them. But they're not doing it.
Well, I've never understood the reluctance of members of Congress on either side to do the right thing. In this case, yeah, there should be a impeachment with removal intended for Garland. Merrick Garland will do nothing more than cover for the left at this point. Now, on the other hand, the impeachment inquiry regarding Biden could start. I don't believe for a minute anybody wants Kamala Harris. Did you know that AI is 2 letters, Ed? I didn't know that. That was news to me. But nobody wants her as president. And she did. I'm quoting directly from the vice president, by the way. Just saying. So,
yeah,
but nobody wants that. But you can have the impeachment inquiry and at least open this up to a bigger aperture regarding Joe Biden. So.
Yeah, and we play those word salads, and I look in our live chat on Getter and Rumble, and people say all the time, do you know she's this close to having a nuclear football?
It's incredible.
I mean, she is.
It's just wild that we're in this world that we're in.
It's absolutely insane. Tony, thanks for making sense of an upside-down world for us every week. We look forward to seeing you next week. In the meantime, take a quick break. Bring in one of the doctors from the Wellness Company to get to the bottom of how you get your medical freedom back. How about that?
That's great.
All right, that's important as well. We'll take a quick break. We'll see you in just a minute. Don't go anywhere. There you go. 81 million votes. My ass carried late, and the Truth Bombers. You could vote if you search the American Liberty Awards, and it looks like Colin on our team just voted. And I don't know, maybe I'm not supposed to reveal who he voted for.
I'm sure he voted for Rav, and I'm sure he voted for 81 million votes.
I got to talk to the Zen Master. I'm looking at most trusted broadcast media. Oh, it is Real America's.
Okay,
he voted for
right.
Rav. Okay, that's good. They have best medical provider, by the way, and Dr. Naomi Wolf got a vote from one column.
Beautiful.
The Wellness Company also is mentioned, the best medical freedom organization. Make sure you're out there supporting them with Spike support and all the rest. Most truthful writer out there, Joe Hoft from Gateway Pundits. Anyway, there's a lot of great options. And yeah, let's put that up since we're talking about how the Wellness Company is mentioned. It's not just about Rav and the American Liberty Awards voting. The bottom line is the Wellness Company is trying to get back your medical freedom. So go to twc.health/RAV. That big, beautiful supplement, Dr. McCullough's Healthy Heart and Muscle Formula on the left, which I take every morning, as well as the Spike support in the middle to deal with all those spike proteins. Have you taken it yet?
I have not. I'm waiting.
There you go. I'm going to let you do that. And make sure that you're not just taking care of your health, but you're restoring your medical freedom. So check out the Wellness Company online, and you can also check out the American Liberty Awards as well. And please vote for Real America's Voice. In terms of Jason Aldean, the fallout continues. So Brantley Gilbert is just the latest country music star now to get behind Jason Aldean. He went after what he calls keyboard warriors on the left who want to cancel America First Patriots. Watch.
I'm a little bit of an old school soul, man. There's a lot going on in society right now I don't understand and don't much care to. One of my pet peeves is we live in a world now where nobody gets punched in the face anymore. We've got a bunch of keyboard warriors hiding behind cell phones and laptops talking shit. So I got a little pissed about this Aldean thing the other night, and I decided I was going to say some. Passwords to any of my social media because I'm a liability. So I decided to write these sons of a song, and I think y'all will appreciate it in Texas. This one's called Bury Me Upside Down.
They're getting behind Try That in a Small Town. And it's just so absurd how they tried to attack him as pro-lynching Jason Aldean. And I love that his colleagues get behind him.
But this is like real life. This is real America. The people in that crowd, the people at the Trump rallies, the people supporting Jason Aldean, not what the mainstream media feeds everybody.
Right. The real American voice. Try that in a small town. Well, part of what I think Jason is talking about is think about all these Democrat cities. Look at this clip from Fox just talking about one weekend in Chicago. I think this was a clip from yesterday. It's just obscene what's going on in places like Chicago. Nobody's doing anything. Watch.
And then there's this video from Saturday night showing a large street fight that reportedly broke out outside a bar in the Wrigleyville neighborhood, not far from the Chicago Cubs stadium, with security and police trying to get things under control. And while murders and shootings are slightly down from last year's near historic highs, crime in nearly every other category is up. Robberies are up 16%, thefts 14%, and the number of carjackings is more than double what it was at this point a year ago. Right now, all eyes are on newly elected progressive Mayor Brandon Johnson, who promised to make the city safer by addressing the root causes of crime. And the impact of his progressive policies will be getting a lot of attention as we get closer to the Democratic National Convention being held here in Chicago just over a year from now.
Oh, yeah. By the way, the Democrats are having their national convention in Chicago. You know what they're going to do? They're going to clean up like a 1 mile radius around.
Yeah, they're going to clean it up, make it look pretty, and pretend.
Yeah, like Garrett's a great reporter, and it's interesting because he said year to year, let's be real and honest, that there are some stats that are better. But then you look at the details you put on the screen. Carjacking's up 126%. So how is that better? I'm not challenging him. I'm just saying there are some stats that are better than the others. 6 dead and 27 injured in one weekend. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, and I was looking at the battery is up only 4%. And I thought, why is that so low? Well, because people aren't even willing to fight back at this point, probably.
Yeah, and also, I would think that the numbers for crime might be down because people are not leaving their homes in some cases.
Afraid.
I'm not joking.
Scared.
I mean, I have friends who live in Chicago who say that it's difficult to pump gas. they're looking over their shoulder and all the rest of it. But Terrance, you've got some roots in Chicago. I mean, like I say, I know Garrett is a great reporter, and let's be fair. He's saying there are some numbers where crime is down year to year. But then in one weekend, 6 dead, 27 injured. Carjacking's up 126%. Like, what is going on, and why is nothing being done?
I think it would be hard for anyone to argue that crime is an epidemic right now in Chicago, and it's something that's impacting everyday Chicagoans. I was just talking to a gentleman literally last week, right around this time, who happened to be in Denver. He was visiting from Chicago. We got to talking about the city, and the first thing that came out of his mouth was, I brought my son here to Denver just to get him away because crime is so bad right now. I needed him to see something different, that what's happening in Chicago isn't reality. This was a conversation that just kind of happened organically, when I find out he was from Chicago, and that's the first thing that came out of his mouth.
Unbelievable.
Wow, that's scary. You think about it. This is the places people grew up. They have family roots there.
Mm-hmm.
These were beautiful cities. They've been decimated.
Absolutely decimated. All right, Terrance, I know you've got some other headlines.
You're right. Let's talk about Texas. Texas and the federal government are headed back to court, but this time over the Lone Star State's latest attempt to secure its border with Mexico. On Monday, the Justice Department filed suit against Texas over these floating buoys you're getting ready to see that have been installed in the Rio Grande River to block migrants from crossing the river and entering the United States. There are those buoys. The project began last week, but the feds claim that Texas Governor Greg Abbott did so without getting federal authorization, which Associate U.S. Attorney General Vanita Gupta says is against federal law. The DOJ also believes the buoys pose a threat to boats on the river and present a, quote, humanitarian concern. Responding to that suit, Governor Abbott reportedly sent President Biden a letter on Monday accusing him of failing to enforce immigration laws and causing a record-breaking level of illegal immigration. That's a quick check of your headlines. We'll, of course, have more headlines coming your way here in just a little bit. Ed and Karyn.
All right, Terrance, appreciate it as always. In the meantime, let's get to a little segment we like to call
Trump Was Right.
We'll be firing it up. Erie, Pennsylvania this weekend. It sounds like he's going to have a lot of rallies coming up. This is just the beginning. Trump was right about Democrat cities. We were just talking about Chicago. Let's look at Portland. Look at this little video. People explaining what a lovely place it is to live in Portland right now. Not really. Watch.
I think this area is the worst that I've seen in Portland so far. And it's on both sides of the street, if you can see. And it goes on for quite some time. I believe this is 33rd and Columbia. And it just on both sides. And it just keeps going. Hard to believe.
Look at the trash. Look at the trash at the end there. Some of it looked orderly at least, but you have a combination. We've seen this in California too. These campers on the side of the road, which is not safe, by the way, if someone needs to pull over.
We've seen them parked in front of schools. We showed footage last
Hollywood.
week. Yeah, walking around, the kids walking past the campers.
Drugs, waste.
Yeah.
And it's a combination of people not being able to find affordable housing in these Democrat cities and people who are just flat out homeless.
And people who have mental health problems that aren't being addressed, and the Democrats are leaving them flat because they simply don't care about them.
It's absolutely insane. It's on both sides of the road.
They want to give away crack pipes and give away drugs. That's what this leads to.
Put down Hunter's. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I was
put
thinking
down
about
Hunter's crack pipe. Absolutely.
We were just talking about statistics. So let's put this up, absolutely, of New York. The left keeps saying, look, you're exaggerating these crime statistics, okay? Here's New York City. This comes from the @crime in NYC. Of the 2,500 people roughly arrested in New York City for fare beating on the subways and whatnot, Karyn, so far this year, over 1,100, just over 45%, had open arrest warrants at the time. 45%. The warrants were for charges including weapon possession, felony assault, and drugs. More than 200 fare beaters were carrying deadly weapons. Oh, wow, including 13 guns and over 200 knives. And you want to walk through the streets of New York City right now?
Well, and here, and look, and they arrest these people, these 2,500 people, and they were probably released the same day because, again, this is a low-level crime, even if they have open warrants.
Crazy. 45% open warrants. 45% of those who got caught. And those are just the ones who got caught fare beating.
Exactly.
How many others got away with it and had open arrest warrants. There you go. One more. Let's go to San Francisco. Mark Dietrich posted this. Many Starbucks in San Francisco have now simply removed the tables and chairs. Look at that. Because the homeless are just camping out. They were frequently occupied by addicted and mentally ill homeless. You always talk about that it's a mental illness issue.
Absolutely.
And so I'm not saying that Starbucks is the be all and end all, but you can't even get a cup of coffee and say, I'm going to sit down for a couple minutes. I'm going to have a conversation with the business owner. I'm going to bring my son over and have a coffee. They've taken all the tables and chairs because the mentally ill and the drug addicted have just simply taken over.
And then sometimes they're one and the same. These people are self-medicating because they can't get the medication they need because there's no services for them because they're turned away by the system that's not helping them. Democrats just turn a blind eye.
Trump was right about these Democratic cities. Let's see if someone can finally do something. Maybe there needs to be somebody who gets elected in 24. How about that?
Maybe Donald Trump.
I think so. That's what it was. Trump was right.
Okay, there you go.
All right. We'll take a quick break. Beard Vet will be next. Stay awake, not woke, right after this.
Just an ordinary Joe with the blow healer skull. Cocaine. Yeah. Took a
That's right. Put down Hunters, crack pipe, ManMediaMusic.com. Let's not forget that it's time for Stay Awake, Not Woke. Fun. Yeah, this is where we expose the woke agenda. It's sponsored by Beard Vet, simply the best coffee, and now the best energy drink as well. I know Colin's been adding it to all of his drinks.
And we're pretty much down quite a bit for the last
see, we've
few
been
days.
using it just the last couple of days. I don't know if you could see. Yeah, see how I'll try to we'll slosh it around?
Yeah.
We're going to need more, Mr. Beard Vet. Mr. Sean George, great patriot who served this great nation as a Marine.
Yes.
And we appreciate his service, and they're always giving back to military charities. And they're now trying to make this country energy independent, he says. So check this out. It's pretty good. I got one at home, got one at the the office. Got one on the set. We pretty much have them everywhere. You and others here, Colin is like on the Red Bull every day, but I'm trying to get him over to the Beard Vet energy. But you guys have got me on energy drinks. I really wasn't into them before, but now I'm doing it. Maybe it's because we're working all day long. In the meantime, let's look at this one, and then we'll bring in Terrance. Robbie Starbuck posted this when you talk about the woke agenda. Why would Gavin Newsom do this, Karyn? He's governor of California, and he's literally fining a school district $1.5 million because they rejected a new book celebrating Harvey Milk, who was a child predator. The minor he raped later committed suicide. And because he's like a rock star among Democrats, Newsom says, oh, you can't do it. Meanwhile, they have these other books that are pornographic and all the rest of it. And when America First Patriots stand up, they try to jam it down the throat and say, oh, no, we got to teach kids all these crazy things. It's just their agenda is right in front of us.
It's super. I mean, it's right there. I mean, he's showing you exactly who he is.
Terrance, you've got some young kids in the schools. It's like, why promote this stuff? Why, and it's just, and Newsom is somebody who, when they, you talk about the possibility of Biden having to step down or not running again, Newsom's name always comes up. Like, he's going to bring California values to the rest of the country.
Right, and listen to your parents. If your parents are opposed to something, listen to that, take into account what they're saying, and consider that in making your ultimate decision. Again, if you feel like this is a book that should be read or should be up for public consumption, then allow parents to decide if they want their child to listen to or to read this sort of garbage or read this sort of information, and then allow parents also to offer context so their kids fully understand what the subject matter is and who the subject matter truly is.
Wouldn't it be great if the schools were teaching honor thy mother and father?
Oh, I don't think they do that much anymore.
I don't think they do that.
Karyn, you sent this in. A young woman babbling about the scourge, I say sarcastically, of time blindness. Did you know about this before?
I did not know until I watched this. This is serious. It's hard to believe that this is the new generation. This is what we're dealing with.
All right, let's play the clip and we'll talk.
So I just got yelled at for asking a very reasonable question. So I'm applying to go somewhere, and I just wanted to know, are there accommodations for people who struggle with time blindness and being on time, And then the person I was with interrupted and acted like I was asking something else, and then when we were done, they actually started yelling at me and saying that accommodations for time blindness doesn't exist, and if you struggle with being on time, you'll never be able to get a job. Provided you're trying your absolute best to be there. And then they're like, your stupid generation wants to destroy the workplace. And yeah, I think that a culture where workers are just cut off because they struggle with being on time, when there's other solutions that we can look to, I think that just anybody who thinks it's okay to just treat people like that, yeah, that culture needs to be dismantled. And then I asked that person, how can you feel good about yourself upholding this kind of system? And then to think I'm entitled. No, if people think it's okay to treat others like this, that's entitlement.
Karyn?
Where are parents? Where are this child's parents? Where are they? Where's Mama Bates? That's what I want to know.
Have your daughters talked about time blindness? What is this? He's like,
child, please. we raise kids with sense in the Bates household. We raise kids with common time blindness. No, come on, man. No, Ed.
There you go.
Really?
All right.
Come on, bruh. Bruh. Do you, bruh. Yeah,
I like that.
That's
I like
ridiculous.
your response.
I'm sorry.
That's an exclamation point. You're absolutely right. All right, thanks for bringing that video. Let's get to some real American voices. Leo Stewart says, Ed, we love the entire network. Truly the voice of Americans. How about that? Real American voices.
I love that. You know who we heard from too is a doggone fishing toy. Remember that?
They're in North Carolina.
They're in North Carolina. They got that awesome fishing toy. November 4th, 2020.
All right, let me get it for you.
You got to get it. I'm going to cough.
All right, she's got a cough. November 4th, 2020, she says, and she's in the open of the show. Never look back. That's when she left Fox for Real America's Voice. Ed, Karyn, Steve Bannon, live from Studio 6B. They love everybody. And there you go. I just think it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome that these great patriots have come on over and they check out Real America's Voice. In the meantime, we're going to take a quick break. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, I'm probably not going to be here until after the show tomorrow. I've just come down with this time blindness thing, so don't expect me. Don't expect me. It won't extend to my kids, but don't expect me.
Don't worry about us. Just try to run that past the Zen Master. We'll see what he has to say. We'll see if the boss buys into love blindness. We'll get Karyn some cough drops. We've got a brand new hour. Don't go anywhere.